combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. And we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants, and I've got a goodie for you guys here today, so stay tuned. JimmyRants.com is the website, and the way it works is we start off on Instagram Live, so go follow me there on Instagram. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. And then once you're there, you can watch live when I come on, just like Kitty Caddick and Robert Pardue and Fit Mentality First and Bonnie Lene and Nick Chester. All these guys have already come in here live today. Then you can watch it for up to 24 hours on replay. And then if you miss it there, because it does disappear after 24 hours on Instagram, we pop them over onto YouTube. Just type in Jimmy Rants as a keyword search, and you will find all my past episodes. And then finally, the Jimmy Rants podcast, which if you could go leave us a review there at Apple Podcast, it would really help us out. Again, you guys, all of this is housed at JimmyRants.com. So today's Jimmy Rants is good news. A lot of times I get on here and when you rant, you have some bad news to rant about. But today's Jimmy Rants is about good news that has happened for people that have type 2 diabetes. So for a long time, I have railed against the American Diabetes Association being stuck in, I was going to say centuries old thinking, but decades old thinking as it pertains to diet and the relationship to type 2 diabetes. Well, now they have officially updated their guidelines. These are the guidelines, you guys, that they send out to medical professionals, that they send out to nutritionists and dietitians and all of these medical and nutritional health professionals. These are the guidelines that the American Diabetes Association, the ADA, recommend be passed on to patients. And what their new guidelines, which I have them right here, what their new guidelines say is they finally include a low-carb option for people with type 2 diabetes. So let me read you a bit of what it is. This came out literally just a couple of days ago. So they've updated their practice guidelines and they've taken a look at new science, and we'll get to that here in a minute. They conducted a systemic review of all the literature that has come out about type 2 diabetes and diet since 2014, and now they officially have updated the guidelines for the use of a low carbohydrate diet, which by definition of this is under 130 grams of carbs. Now, obviously, a lot of us are significantly below 130 grams of carbs, but this is the first time they've ever said anything like this. They've always maintained that you needed at least 130 grams of carbs in order for your brain to function properly, which we know is crap, but they've been promoting that. So they're now including the use of a low carbohydrate diet as a what they call medical nutrition therapy, an MNT, for use with adults who have type 2 diabetes. And this less than 130 grams of carbohydrate works out to less than 26% of daily calories as carb. And so what they've done now is they've updated for 2019 standards of medical care in diabetes. That's what they've updated. And it builds on the things that they've talked about before. But now they include a low carbohydrate diet can do one of three things, and it could be do all of them. It lowers blood sugar levels. Yeah, it does that well. It may lower the use of needing blood sugar lowering medications. And then finally is effective for helping you lose weight. And guess where they came up with that from? All of that data. You want to know why science matters? You want to know why good randomized control clinical trial studies matter? The reason they came to this conclusion was the 1-year study that was published by Virta Health. Virta Health is the company that Dr. Jeff Follick and Dr. Steve Finney run, and they've got Dr. Sarah Hallberg also as a part of that. Sarah is the lead researcher on this data that has now convinced the ADA to change their position about low-carb diets. And in this, they talk about the Virta Health study actually used a ketogenic approach, which was under 30 grams of carbs a day. They also looked at a couple of other studies, and the ADA has now concluded that a low carbohydrate diet is safe to use for people with type 2 diabetes who don't have kidney disease or have the risk of an eating disorder and is not pregnant. So this, guys, is huge. Do you realize what has happened? Because since I've been blogging, the ADA has remained strongly opposed to low-carb diets. In fact, before this, and I haven't had time to go research if they still have it up, but before this, you'd go on their website and you'd look under like carbohydrates. Oh, it's an essential part of your diet, and if you're a type 2 diabetic, you should be eating blah, blah, blah. This is almost a 180 position change, and we need to tell people about this. So you can actually download this one-sheeter, which has all the information I just read off to you, along with the scientific references at the bottom. You can print this off. There's a website that actually made this available in summary form, LCHF, for low carb, high fat, LCHF -RD, as in registered dietitian.com. So it's a site called the Low Carb Healthy Fat Dietitian. So LCHF-RD.com, and go print this out. And what they're trying to get people to do is to take this to your doctor. So let's say you have type 2 diabetes. Let's say that your doctor's wanting to keep you on medication. And let's say they've been highly, highly opposed to you doing a low-carb ketogenic approach to try to control your disease. Now you can say, look, the American Diabetes Association themselves have changed their position, and they now make this an option for people with type 2 diabetes. Today is a day to celebrate, you guys, because this is something, when I first started blogging in 2005, I didn't think I'd see anytime soon. Now, it's 13 years later, so it wasn't real soon, but this is huge news, and it's not going to be anything but a positive for people living with type 2 diabetes who have been stuck in really bad nutritional health advice. Perhaps we could see a stemming of the rise in rates of type 2 diabetes as people try a low-carb ketogenic approach and they bring their A1C down, they bring their insulin level down, they bring their blood sugar levels down. All of these things will help heal the type 2 diabetes, and we could very well see the rates of type 2 diabetes actually decrease as a direct result of this one little change. And we've been begging them for years to do this. It's like, come on, common sense would have told you up until this point, because it's not like before the Virta Health study, it's not like there wasn't other studies that came out that didn't also show that a low carbohydrate approach controlled blood sugar, controlled insulin, lowered A1C levels, all of the things that this study did. But thank you to Virta Health. Thank you, Dr. Sarah Hallberg and Dr. Steve Finney and Dr. Jeff Follick, for leading the way, because you got one of the big boys to change their mind about something that I thought they would never change their mind about. Now, if we can just get the American Heart Association to stop telling people to cut saturated fat and to cut cholesterol out of their diet, because that's nonsense too, just as much as the American Diabetes Association thinking that low-carb diets was harmful to diabetes. We got a lot of work to do on the American Heart Association, but this is huge, you guys, and I couldn't wait to share this with you. Again, if you missed it, there is, it's backwards, but LCHF-RD.com. So LCHF-RD.com, and print this out. because this will now be a resource that you can send to your doctor and say, hey, look, here's the latest science straight from American Diabetes Association and what I can do to help control my diabetes. I want to try low carb. I want to try keto. Maybe you've had to do it on the down low now because you were afraid what the doctor would say. Now you have new evidence that you can bring to them. And yeah, I honestly believe this is going to result in huge, dramatic shifts in the downward of the rates of type 2 diabetes. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Paula Johnson 61 says, yay. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Nutrition Coalition, I wonder if their work helped with this. No, they did not do this. Nutrition Coalition is Nina Teichol's, and they don't do research. They're just advocacy for changing the dietary guidelines. This is not the dietary guidelines. This is the guidelines for diabetes. So there's cholesterol guidelines, which recently changed, and I did a whole Jimmy Rants about. This is the American Diabetes Association's diabetes guidelines. So this is very different from the nutritional guidelines for all Americans, the dietary guidelines for all Americans. That's coming in 2020. Bonnie Lene says, woohoo. Yep, yep. Paula Johnson 61 has eyes wide open, 130 grams of carbs. But see, think about it. 130 grams. They used to not want you to go anywhere near below 130 grams. At least now they're saying we don't see it as a bad thing that you go below 130 grams, which where that comes from is they think you need 130 grams of carbs in order to make your brain function. Of course, they're not taking into account the ketones would take the place of glucose that would be functioning in your brain, and a whole different metabolism will metabolize and fuel the brain just fine. So that's why they've always believed that. This is a huge move, guys, and I think as people start to feel better and do well on just carbohydrate restriction of 130 grams or less of carbs, how much better will they feel if they go full-on ketogenic, and perhaps in the next update of the guidelines, they go full-bore ketogenic. Here's hoping. Hello, Ashton. Nancy Virginia Beach says, this is big. Yeah, this is. Guys, if you're just joining us, this Jimmy Rants is a happy one because the American Diabetes Association has finally updated their guidelines for people with type 2 diabetes to include low carb as an option for type 2 diabetes, and they did this as a direct result of the one-year randomized control clinical trial study that Virta Health conducted. They did the one-year results earlier this year. In 2019, they're going to share the two-year results, and I can't wait because a lot of these studies only go a year and then they quit. Virta is going well beyond a year, definitely 2 years. They may even push it into 3-4 years for all those people that say we need long-term research. They're trying to do that. But this is huge, guys, for that, because that study has been done and was published in a very prominent journal. It's now getting the attention of the American Diabetes Association, and they've now updated their guidelines to reflect that a low-carb diet is a great option for people with type 2 diabetes. Kitty Caddick says, more data on hand to shut up haters of our crazy lifestyle. Exactly. So if you're just joining us and you didn't hear about this one cheater, go to lchf-rd.com. So that's low-carb, healthy fat -RD, like registered dietitian.com. It's the low carb healthy fat dietitian website, and they gave one sheeter that has all the information that you'll need about these changes that the ADA has made. I'm printing this on my forehead. Yeah, go into your doctor's office. Yeah, look at the new guidelines. It's pretty cool. Jimmy, your voice is finally being heard. Bonnie Lene, yeah, me and many others have been screaming this from the mountaintop, so it's a pretty big deal. Slowly but surely moving forward. Yes, Kitty Caddick. Awesome, says Sherry Smiles. Bullock in 2018, you're now influencing the big boys. Yeah, we're trying. We're trying hard. Kind of like a Christmas present, Kat says. Yeah, No, kinda. It is. It's a big Christmas present. My cousin Robert Pardue, what's up, Robbie? My doctor told me he had a couple of patients on keto, including me. He was good with me going keto. He never gave me a diet plan, and I was surprised. Just here is the meds, usually, LOL. Yeah. And Robbie has type 2 diabetes, high triglycerides. He went keto right at about a month and a half-ish ago, and is doing very well so far. So good for you, Robbie, and that you have a doctor that's willing to work with you. G Mama Webb says baby steps. Hey, when I first started blogging, some of the notions of what we're actually seeing come to pass now, they were just pie in the sky. Oh, we're hoping that someday in our lifetime, and I was predicting then, this is in like the mid-2000s, I was predicting then that we may not see change happen in our society till maybe 2025, 2030. It's really good to see that we're ahead of schedule on that. Do you know if they are referring to net carbs or all carbs? Sherry smiles. It doesn't say in the recap here. It just says 130 grams of carbohydrate a day. I would assume that means total carbohydrate. A lot of these research studies, they don't look at net carbs. They always count carbs in totality, which should tell you something, low carbers that still believe in net carbs. Count your total carbs, because that's what matters. Love BN Graham 6 says, I'm so lucky I have a younger doctor and she is on board with keto. Yes. I knew what you meant. They spell keto, Q-U-I-T-O. Hey, it's the new cool version of keto. This should pave the way for funding for more studies. Nancy, what a great point, and I hope so. I hope that now that the ADA is involved, and all the power that they wield within the research world, that this would instigate more people getting involved in funding of some of these studies. Because if Dr. Hallberg and her group are showing this, they're going to want to replicate it in other studies, maybe expand upon the original study. So here's hoping, and I think you're right. Mama Orr says, this is awesome news. It is so awesome news. So if you just joined us, the American Diabetes Association has updated their guidelines for people with type 2 diabetes that includes now a brand new treatment option of a low-carb diet. Now, a lot of us, if you're listening to me, watching me on Jimmy Rants, this is kind of a well duh, but think about how big this is, that people that are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes generally go to the ADA, and the American Diabetes Association has been traditionally pushing them to a low-fat diet, healthy whole grains diet, all of this nonsense, and they kept their diabetes worse. Now, perhaps for the very first time ever, the advocacy group that is the leading advocacy group for type 2 diabetics is finally going to actually help people get better. And I'm going to say it one more time. Print off this one sheeter, you guys. It's available at LCHF. Low carb, high fat is what that stands for. LCHF-RD, as in registered dietitian, RD.com. LCHF-RD.com. Get this one sheeter. I would love to see, even if you don't have type 2 diabetes, even if you're not currently going through a program, everybody print this off, take it to your doctor, and just say, I thought you'd want to know. Because I wonder how well this is going to trickle into the medical health system, where they realize the guidelines have changed. Do they make some kind of a press release for doctors? Do they send them a fax? Do they send them an email that says, oh yeah, by the way, all that stuff we said about how to take care of patients with diabetes, oops, here's the new version. You know, I don't know how that works, but if you bring it to them as a patient, how cool does it look that you're so educated and up to date on what's going on? So a great present indeed. We'll take it, you guys, because we've been fighting for this for a very long time. All right, guys, that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. As always, go to jimmyrants.com. And the way this show works, it's pretty darn unique, you guys. We start off on Instagram Live. So if you're not following me and you want to engage in the content as it's happening, go to Instagram, go follow me at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. And then once you're there, you can watch live, just like all these awesome people did here today. Then you can watch it for 24 hours on replay on Instagram. And then it pops over onto YouTube. So go look up Jimmy Rants on YouTube, and you can see all the past episodes of Jimmy Rants. And then finally, the Jimmy Rants podcast is available on Apple Podcasts. Go leave me a review there, you guys. It really helps out. Brand new podcast. All of this, you guys, is at jimmyrants.com. So until next time, we'll see you then.